If you've ever thought that a certain piece of road would be a wonderful place to drive a high-performance car, you're not alone. People have been thinking like that since the first car rolled out of its garage. And if you've ever wondered whether a friend could get along that road as fast as you, people have been thinking like that since the second car rolled out of its garage. Out of ideas like these came events like the Mille Miglia, which travelled the length of Italy, and the TARGA Florio, which roared around the island of Sicily. With the demise of the TARGA Florio, the last true road race passed from the earth. Until 1992, when another island, half a world away, realised the potential of its sinuous roads and stunning scenery, and staged the ultimate tarmac rally, TARGA Tasmania. A 5-day, 2,000-kilometre event, TARGA Tasmania would test reliability, skill and speed. Grand touring cars of any age could compete. They were divided into age categories and further into engine classes, and then standard, modified and limited modified specifications, SS, MS and LMS for short. Each day had at least half a dozen closed road TARGA stages where drivers and navigators ran against the clock at 30-second intervals. Crews could choose an ambition to suit themselves, get under the trophy time on every stage and win a TARGA trophy, or chase victory by losing as little time as possible. The event attracted crews and their fantastic cars from all over the world. Tasmanians Greg Crick and Greg Preece won in 1992 in the newly released Honda NSX, and again in 1993. In 1994, it was Andrew Medicki and Alan Taylor in a Porsche Cup car. 1995, a Toyota Celica with Neil Bates and Coral Taylor. 96 and 97 were taken out by Jim Richards and Barry Oliver in a Porsche 911 Turbo. And 1998, this is TARGA Tasmania 1998. The first day's competition is the BHP Temco Prologue at Georgetown on the Tamar River. The entire field drives down the side of the river, then runs off against the clock to seed the field and stretch the legs of the cars for the first time.
Say you're not nervous, but I guess when you get there, the pulse rate will go up, and after the prologue we sort of settle down and away we go. Yeah.
The prologue is always a little bit of a false start, if you like. You have to certainly record a decent time, but there's little point in going for the very best time and perhaps doing some damage to the cars.
Feels pretty exciting, but trying not to think about it at the moment, just to finish on Sunday night's the aim, really.
But I'm sure the butterflies are about to strike very soon. If you don't have the butterflies, you're not going to be competitive.
Well, he's driving at the moment, but don't worry, that won't be for long.
See, I've got the keys, right? That decides who drives.
I'm really looking forward to it. It's a complete change from the sports cars that I've been in all the previous TARGAs, and with Terry's enormous experience, I'm looking forward to a very comfortable drive this year.
Georgetown, we just blaze around the roads as fast as we can within reason and see what happens.
It's a good day. It's the only day we get to watch other competitors.
We're basically going to take it fairly steady today, but on the other hand, try and be competitive as well.
You know, we'll be revving it to about 7,000 revs, and people seem to like that with some flames coming out the side.
TARGA Tasmania this year is divided into 3 separate competitions: historic, classic and modern. TARGA Tasmania Historic for cars from 1900 to 1965 is sponsored by Shannon's Corporation, whose managing director Robert Shannon is driving car number 1, a 1930 Invicta S-Type. This competition will have 4 competitive days and a concours d'elegance, and will cover a course which takes the age of the cars into account. TARGA Tasmania Classic for cars from 1900 to 1981 covers the full course and is run on a handicap formula, with every car in the running for outright victory, as well as the usual class and category awards.
All we've been waiting for. 359 days I've been waiting for this.
All 3 competitions head off from Launceston to the BHP Temco prologue around the houses at Georgetown, the only stage the competitors are able to drive around immediately before they compete. TARGA Tasmania Modern is for cars from 1977 to 1998, and this year it's divided into 3 classifications: standard, modified and limited modified. There's no handicap in this competition. The car with the lowest penalty time is the winner. Spectators looking forward to a feast of old cars get their first surprise in the form of Bruce Jessup and Jeff Smedley's Ferrari 308 GT4. Bruce and Jeff have been allowed to start early because they're having car trouble. Robert Shannon and Craig Brown in the 1930 Invicta S-Type set a time of 4 minutes 45, which puts them at the top of Category 1 SS in the historic competition. About 16 seconds slower are Lawrence and Anthony Donnan in their Fraser Nash Boulogne, who will take the Category 1 MS trophy. Ian Cummins and Kay Kilgariff are fastest in Category 2 SS. But it's Hamish and Robert Barr in the 1960 MGA Twin Cam who beat the Invicta's time and take out Category 3 SS with a 4 minutes 21. The MGA's time only survives for a couple of minutes until Max and Richard Lane arrive in their 1957 Alfa Romeo Giuliana Spider, recording 4:11 on their way to the top of 3MS Classic. Ray Williams and Robert Taylor in their 1963 EH Holden are fastest outright, fastest in Category 4 MS and fastest in the historic competition at a fraction over 4 minutes dead. Paul Tucker and Gordon Lepp are fastest in historic Category 4 SS in their 1962 Aston Martin DB4. Rex and Lynn Carr's 1955 Jaguar XK140 is the first to break the 4-minute barrier, and they do it handsomely at 3:46. 8 seconds faster than the Jaguar are Paul and Christine Freestone in their 1958 Austin Healey BN4 at 3:38.4. An amazing effort that will put them in the top 10 classic cars at the end of the day. Henry and Rosalind Draper's 1961 Mini isn't as fast as the big Healey, but it's quick enough to beat everything else in Category 3 SS. Nobody in Category 4 can match the Austin Healey, but a couple of Mustangs come close. Terry Daly and Peter Svensson take out Category 4 MS. Scott and Lee Kent in another Ford Mustang are quickest in Category 4 SS. There's quite a big entry in Category 5 this year, but it's a while before one of them can go faster than the Austin Healey, let alone in the same direction. When it happens, it's the Sims brothers in their Ford Escort Turbo on their way to the fastest time in Category 5 MS at 3 minutes 30 seconds. 10 seconds slower than the Escort are Gary Quigley and Andrew Holsworth in their 1970 GTHO Falcon, fastest in Category 5 SS. Andrew seems to be barely holding Gary in check. In Category 6, Jeff Taylor and Lane O'Donoghue's Porsche Carrera is the fastest standard car. Les and Sue Taylor in their 5-litre Tirana demonstrate why it's a good idea to be conservative at Georgetown. There goes 10 seconds. Lee Mundy and Guy Dunstan's 1974 RSR Porsche is the fastest modified car in Category 6. Greg Haysom and Laurie Davidson give the spectators a good look at their 1977 Celica GT. Even in Category 7, no one goes faster than the Escort. Paul Wilson and Danielle Alderson put their Holden Tirana A9X at the front of the modified cars, while Farrell White and Danny Townsend take the Ford Falcon Cobra to the top of the standard specification. The hairpin by the RSL Club comes up about halfway through, just when you're starting to get a rhythm going. But Kerry and Travis Dean's Celica trips up on a curb only a few corners from the start.
It was a bit scary, yeah. So pushed back on our wheels and popped out.
Veteran race driver Charlie O'Brien takes over his brother's seat in the RX-7 Turbo and gives it a workout. It's a car 20 years younger that betters the Escort's time. Wakujiro and Ruriko Kobayashi in their 1990 Nissan GTR take 4 seconds off it with a 3 minutes 26.4. This puts them at the top of Category 8 Limited Modified. This time doesn't last long. John Potter and Andrew Sluice take the brutal MG Metro around in 3:24, which puts them on top of Category 8 SS. Bob Hughes and Ralph Hamill in their Mazda RX-7 Turbo take out Category 8 MS. Lynn Rattray and Hedley Browning get their 1995 RX-7 round quicker than anyone else in Category 9 Standard. Another RX-7, Mark and Rick Rathbones, is the fastest in Category 9 MS. Craig Dean and Graham Bell let 400 horses loose in the streets in their 1993 Toyota Sora. With the outright fastest time at 3:24, everyone is wondering how fast Jim Richards and Barry Oliver can go. As usual, it doesn't look spectacular, but it's the fastest by over 10 seconds.
It's always a bit of a warm-up. Your brakes aren't bedded in and the car's sort of pretty fresh, so it's just a matter of just taking it easy and going as good as you can, because it's not really that important, this particular one.
Oh, we just went round one corner too quick and I misjudged the drift and we clipped the curb with the front wheel and the back wheel hit it a bit harder, which it didn't slow us down, we just kept going, but the next corner we got to, we didn't have any air left in the back tyre.
It'll affect our starting position, I would think, because 9 minutes and 7 seconds is not a real flash time.
Fifth fastest in the historic competition are Tucker and Lepp in the Aston Martin. O'Brien and Geddes are next in the Mercedes. The Bars in the MGA are third fastest behind the Lane's Alpha Spider, with Williams and Taylor fastest in the Holden. The L34 Tirana is fifth in the Classic, behind the Porsche RSR and a Porsche Carrera. Paul Wilson and Danielle Alderson second, and the Sims Escort out front. A 1995 Nissan GTR is at the back of the top 5 in the modern, behind a 1990 model. Next up is the Rattray Browning RX-7, with the MG Metro in second. Behind Jim Richards and Barry Oliver, of course. With the starting order decided at the prologue, slowest first, fastest last, it's time for the cars to take off for the first full day of competition, the Northern Loop, which goes 313 kilometres from Launceston to Devonport and back via 7 closed-road Targa stages. 5 for the Shannon's historic cars.
3, 2, 1,
The first of these stages is Lagana, just outside Launceston. The 240-car field takes a couple of hours to pass through any point, which allows time for the weather to change in front of them. It's raining at the far end of Lagana, so there are a few surprises in store for people who are driving on dry roads now. About 3/4 of an hour further on is the second stage, the roller coaster ride of Moriarty. Father and son Stephen and Tristan Bruce launched their 1967 Mini Cooper S down the first dip. Each crew has a base time and a trophy time for a stage, and they aim to finish the stage between these two times. Getting under the trophy time on all 40 stages will win them a TARGA trophy. And if they achieve the base time, they have accrued 0 penalty time and cleaned the stage. In fact, the purpose of the base time is to ensure that everyone loses some time, so that winners in each of the 3 competitions can emerge. Winning a TARGA trophy 3 years in succession earns a golden TARGA trophy, and 2 golds add up to a platinum. This year, 11 competitors are eligible for platinum trophies. The Shannon's Historic competition does every stage except 2 today, which is why John Link and John Ould in the 1921 American La France are giving way to Robert White and Angus MacLeod's 1965 Sunbeam Tiger. The crews settle in on these early stages. Navigators get used to giving orders. Drivers get used to calculating how fast they need to drive. Some of them find the calculation a bit tricky. Computerland Managing Director Ewan Hills and John Saul in the 1962 Volkswagen Carmen Ghia are in trouble already with fuel starvation.
Nine right, little press, left in Porsche, big press.
The Bruces are learning as they go.
Place. Turn 3 left.
And the kids at Lagana are learning what full noise means. Most of the cars out on the course at the moment are from the classic and historic competitions. Everyone's base times for Lagana and Moriarty are easy to achieve, but most people go fairly quickly anyway to get in the groove. The modern competition is based on outright speed, so they're getting some early practice. They could probably achieve their Lagana base time at half this speed. Robert Shannon has a problem with the Invicta.
Oh, mate, we've had a throttle jam open on us at full speed, and we're coming up to a corner down there near the bridge, so we had to shut her down. But I can't get the thing unstuck, so we're not having a good day.
Warwick Fremantle and Nick Watchorn have a different type of problem as they move their Nissan GTR up to the start of the Devonport Targa stage. A safety check coming in one window and pre-start instructions coming in the other.
Adrenaline pumping, ready to 14 kilometres. Adrenaline pumping. Spectator point, or is that the oil? No, the oil is from 6 to 14. Oil is 6 to 14. 6 to 14. Okay, so it's only minor. Thank you. Minor oil, 6 to 14. Yeah, for 8 kilometres. Okay, you got that work.
From the Devonport stage, the field heads off for a half-hour lunch break at the Devonport Surf Club and a chance to relax and have a chat. Jack Claver and Andrew Garland in their Dino 308 GTB upset their digestion a little on the new Nook stage, but the damage is superficial. Soon, the Dino's on the road again. Another new stage for this year is Sheffield. It's a tricky one. Greg Sandow and Vince Sartor in their 1971 Holden Monaro go the way of about a dozen cars that went off on this stage when it was last used. And Les Andrews and Peter Upton's Amaroo Clubman knows the right place to stop.
Well, basically, we came flying over the hill and the fuel pump went. And we trundled down the hill very slowly, and Pete said, pull into this drive. And the only recommendation I have is that if you're ever going to break down in TARGA Tasmania, make sure you break down at a local's place, because we were here 5 minutes and out come the coffee and sandwiches. Most welcome.
Handbrake, quick! Thank you. Well done. Very good. 150, 4 left. Thanks, mate. You pulled the handbrake at just the right time. You know that? Holy
Came down this section of road and left the braking a bit late, locked the wheels up and almost got round the corner and hooked it in at the last moment.
At Nook, Steve Johnson's SJ Countach expires with an ignition problem. He's lucky it stops here and not directly on the exit of the corner. Jim Richards and Barry Oliver, in the lead at the back of the field, get a grandstand view of everyone else's problems. The modern field lines up for Sheffield. And out on the stage, Chris McCausland and Andrew Frith give their Mercedes-Benz 190E its head on one of the straights. And the early cars have now reached Longford, where there's a street stage. The streets in question have recently been resurfaced, which is fun for the spectators and interesting to say the least for the competitors. A quick phone call to the distributor reveals why the Partridge Cronin Lotus Elise won't start after hitting a curb. Ah, it has a reset button, just like a washing machine. Quigley and Holsworth find that all that grunt and the Longford gravel are a slippery mixture. As the modern cars go through Sheffield, it's easy to see why it has a difficult reputation. And the HQ's gone off a second time on the same stage. This time, it has company. Some of the modern cars have now reached Longford and are finding that their power advantage has disappeared. The leaders are on the way through the Deloraine stage, a fast run through fertile farmland. Fremantle and Watchorn are lying third in the modern competition. Ewan Hills and John Saul have had a long day. And behind them, Vaughan Guthrie's RX-7 is getting a hard day from touring car ace David Parsons. Is this the donut of the day? Or is this? At the end of leg one, the cars have a shower and a drink. The crews are either under the cars or talking about them.
It's all wet on the side of the firewall here, Scott. Great feeling. Unfortunately, we dropped 5 seconds at the Nook, simply because I fell asleep.
One much discussed stage is Sheffield.
Oh, that was good. We really did a good time through there.
Well, yeah, no problem at all.
Yeah.
You had to watch it coming down the hill, and there were a few, every kilometre there was a car up the bank to let you know that you had a problem coming up. So wherever there was a car off the road, you knew you should slow down.
Jim Richards and Barry Oliver's secret is out. They massage the tyres every night. Jim has an excuse ready.
I'm just cleaning the stones, all the stones from Longford, just to make sure there's none in the brakes and stuff.
Equal fifth in the historic competition are the Tucker Lepp Aston Martin and the O'Brien Geddes Mercedes. Behind the Fraser Nash and the Jaguar. While the Holden and the MGA are joint leaders. In the Classic, 10 cars have accrued no penalty time at all, so there are 10 joint leaders, ranging in size from a 5.3 litre V12 to a 1 litre 4, and in age from 1976 to 1960. In the modern top 5, there are 3 Mazda RX-7s broken up by a 1995 Nissan GTR and headed up by the Richards Oliver Porsche. Leg 2, the Tasman Trundle, takes the field into the northeast and down the east coast. It's 445 kilometres of hard work, 9 Targa stages, 4 for the historics, over several twisty mountain passes, some fast coastal roads and the streets of a fishing village. Touring car ace Neil Crompton helps prepare his novice navigator Alison Drower for a quick day in the celebrity MGF. Up on the sidling, the marshals wait and relax. The crews won't be able to relax on the sidling or anywhere else on Leg 2. Klaus Bischoff and Hermann Rutger in the Porsche Museum's 356 America are among the first to discover how slippery the sidling is today. And Graham Copeland and Ross Horton in the 1961 Triumph TR4 find a slippery spot on the first stage at Launceston. Later in the morning, Gary Quigley and Andrew Holdsworth find out the meaning of aquaplaning. The sidling is quite long and very twisty, so it's possible to make up time on other competitors, or to lose it. Craig Williams and Greg Hewson have overdone it in their 1963 Speedwell mini sprint, but they'll be on the road again with a tow. Peter Fitzgerald and German journalist Michael Peterson in the Porsche Museum's 356B Carrera are joint leaders in the Classic, despite their language barrier. But you don't need to speak different languages to have communication troubles.
Come on, where are you, mate? Up here is your turn 1 now. This is the hard one, turn left. There's that bit of... 9 right, crest.
Winnaleah and Waldborough Pass take the field on a winding route through the rainforests, and the rainforests are living up to their name today. The top of the Waldborough Pass. This is quite a fast section, but nobody wants to go off in this weather. The sidling continues to demand first-class car control. Some of the classic contenders have reached Winnaleah. The Bradshaw McPherson Cortina GT, the Calvert Vincent Alpha, and the Jessup Smedley Ferrari running properly at last.
Only got a short drive to our next stage, which is Waldborough Pass. This is a roughly 12-kilometre stint. It's a very twisty stage. Don't be deceived by the first few hundred metres, which are fast. So the twisting and turning suddenly arrives. A long descent tests the driver's courage and the navigators, and the efficiency of the brakes on the vehicle. Not even the quickest will make the base time. So we challenge ahead of us here.
The modern cars have been travelling with the rain, and it's still there when they reach Weldborough Pass. In the mountains ahead are St Mary's Pass and the Elephant Pass, just as challenging, but will they be just as wet? For the early cars, they are. The Bruces on St Mary's Pass. The later cars enjoyed drier conditions on St Mary's Pass. Mike Catchpole and Mike Darling get a good run on the Elephant Pass, from the weather at least. Their Porsche is white outside, but it's about to turn blue inside. After a shaky morning, the weather begins to clear in earnest, which pleases the historic field. They've done the Elephant Pass, and they're driving all the stages after lunch.
We actually go sideways and the body comes off the chassis almost. It's just unbelievable, mate.
The finish at Cranbrook.
We got caught for speeding at 160. It's going to cost us points.
I mean, it poured with rain on one Targa, but it's beautiful now, isn't it? We've dried out.
Oh, that was ace. We caught a Ford Falcon GT then in this little bugger and passed him, so it was really good fun, yeah.
Through the streets of Triabunna, the fields from all three competitions are mixed together. It's dry, but it has been wet. Andrew Farmer and Lee Harper in their 2.8 RS join the crowd that try a shortcut towards the pub. Mike Batten and Dennis Reeves' 1963 Volvo 123 GT seems to have power to burn when they get it on the road. The run down the sunny east coast towards Triabunna is one of the most pleasant touring stages in the event. The last Targa stage of the day goes up one side of Grass Tree Hill and down the other into Hobart. Again, the Shannon's historic cars are mixing it with the rest. It's dry and it's fast, so it's a good chance to have a go. At Triabunna, the pub continues to lure cars off the tarmac.
Well, I saw this hole on the left. Then I saw the road go on.
The Kobayashis are forceful as usual.
To a turn narrow, 3 left. Look at the arrow. 200. Straight on through crossroads. And here's the chicane. Take it from the left. From the left.
The sharp chicane?
Yeah. Oh, where? Yeah, there you go. Phew, that's a bit of a doozy. Straight on through crossroads, 200.
The field is always well mixed up by the last stage of the day, so it's an interesting cocktail of cars on Grass Tree Hill. Again, Jim Richards and Barry Oliver make going fast look easy.
Learned that it's really good fun. It's obviously the event's got a great spirit about it, and you look at the variety of different vehicles and all kinds of different people, so it's terrific that motorsport is reaching such a wide group of people, old, young, in between, old cars, new cars, fast cars, slow cars, heavy cars, light cars, male, female. It's great.
Experience.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point of it, I'm sure. And it looks to me like it's a great thing for the state. I've never actually been here in the past and copped any of the previous events, but to me it looks like Tassie gets right behind it. That's a good thing.
Well, coming down the main straight there, probably doing over 200 kilometres an hour, and obviously we picked up something in the rear tyre and it blew. And I've caught them from ridiculous places before, but I couldn't catch this one, and she just slid over the bank.
The door flew open on this side, so I had the interesting privilege of seeing Tasmanian countryside coming past at a fair rate of knots and watching wombats and lizards sprint off into the undergrowth as we chased them down the hill.
The car's performing very well. We've made a couple of mistakes. We went straight on the sidling and nearly skittled the cameraman. And we went straight on to try a bunno once, but both times we just went off onto gravel, so we didn't hit anything.
Yeah, oh look, it was a bit tricky, but it's the sort of thing you expect on day 2 of Targa. It got a bit slippery there and a bit wet and all that, but we're still here in one piece, and that's the most important thing. Unfortunately, there are a couple of cars on the side of the road, but thankfully no one's hurt. But anyhow, we've still got 3 long days to go.
We've had a bit of a disaster, really. We were in 4th place last night, probably 3rd place this morning, I think, on our times, but we've spent most of the day without turbo boost, and it's robbed us of a lot of speed, and we've dropped a lot of time.
I love it. Police are not hassling me. I've got all my points and stuff like that. I think it's great. Should be more of it.
I just thoroughly enjoy it because I can come down in my own car and I can drive the car faster than I can on the normal roads and have an absolute ball around the roads in Tassie. You know, that's what I do it for. Whether we win or whether we come last doesn't really worry me. I'd come back again anyway.
Driver error, I think. I have to be honest with you. Yeah, we just ran out of road. I was just attempting to take a corner at a obviously impossible speed. You know, today we drove for the trophy. We didn't drive to our minimum times, but tomorrow we might do that if we have a dry day.
The officials so far have been absolutely fantastic. They're all volunteers, especially today.
It was really wet and miserable, but they were fantastic. They did a terrific job. The organisation's been fantastic, so full marks to them. They've done a great job.
We're trying to fit a new roof because the rain today was a bit of a problem. As you can see, the Tri-Runner was a dream. We went all over the padding in front of the pub and ploughed it up for the local council, but apart from that, we're okay, yeah.
The Fraser Nash has slipped to 5th in the historic competition, behind the Aston Martin and the Jaguar in equal 3rd. Second is the Bar MGA, only 11 seconds behind the leading Holden. In the Classic, the top 5 have emerged. The Falcon Cobra, the Lancia Fulvia, the Kent Mustang, the Freestone Austin Healey, and the Fitzgerald Peterson Porsche in the lead. The Warwick Porsche has moved into the modern top 5 behind Dean and Bell, Fremantle and Watchorn, Guthrie and Parsons, and Richards and Oliver. Leg 3, the Optus World Sprint, is the shortest day of the event. It takes the cars on a 209-kilometre loop to the south of Hobart, with just over 60 kilometres of Targa stages, 7 of them altogether. It's a fine, clear autumn day. With the overall position starting to take shape, it's important to keep the paperwork up to date and be ready for an intense day's competition. It'll be the hardest day yet.
Everybody put your hand in the sky. I wave them from side to side. Come on.
The cars in the Shannon's historic competition won't be joining the rest of the field today. They're enjoying a Concours d'Elegance in Hobart's Salamanca Place.
We do these events all over Australia, and I think this is the best location we've ever put cars together. It's got everything, and the cars in line here, there's 100 of the most famous cars in Tasmania, all come to celebrate TARGA Tasmania in Hobart.
The biggest engine in the event, the 14-litre American LaFrance of John Link and John Ould.
I mean, I'm having the best time. I'm learning all the way through because I've never done Targa before. But I've got 2 hats on. I'm commercially interested in the event because of a sponsorship point of view, but as also a competitor. And I had the best day yesterday because the Invicta came from last to 3rd in the class in one day. So I had a sensational day.
TARGA Tasmania is about to commence.
Meanwhile, the Hobart traffic is livened up by a string of thoroughbreds.
So that's a landmark in the history of another. Brian always in the Porsche Spider.
We haven't had much of a run up until today with a heap of fuel problems, electrical problems, but she's all fixed now, and yeah, it should be a really good day.
The first Targa stage is Mount Nelson, a short blast up a mountain road on the outskirts of Hobart. It's the year of the MG, not the Gogamobile, and the latest in a line of celebrities driving one day each in an MGF is State Premier Tony Rundle.
We're going to push it along as fast as we can, but we're going to stay to the black stuff.
MG Rover are official vehicle suppliers and a major sponsor of the event. Mike Moylan and Kim Chance's huge Ford Galaxy isn't as nimble as an MG, but it will have its moments later in the event. This is how the Mount Nelson Targa stage looks from inside a GTHO Falcon on the left or a Cobra on the right. It's very short, so stay with us all the way to the top. The new Targa stage at Howden is an interesting mixture of country roads, town roads and a new housing estate. A Fiat Abarth's gone house hunting. It has other confusing sections too. The scenery is world class as well as the roads, an extra bonus for the competitors. Rex and Lynn Carr tackle the Woodbridge Targa stage in their 1948 Jaguar XK140. The word around the starting line this morning was that the best way to tackle Howden was to take it easy. Easier than this. Fitzgerald and Peterson in their Porsche are still leading the classic as the field races down the D'Entrecasteaux Channel.
Computerland supplied us these little drinkies for free. And they taste good.
From the start at Woodbridge, the cars rush up a twisty climb and down the other side of the hill. The uphill part is where it's nice to hear a V8 or a turbocharger singing under the bonnet. Oyster Cove is the longest Targa stage yet on leg 3. It's long enough to catch up the 30-second interval to the car in front. By the finish, quite a few people have caught up. Oyster Cove is similar to Woodbridge in that it climbs over a hill and has a downhill run to the finish. Have a look at the speedo here as Dean and Bell accelerate down from Woodbridge.
10 left, 10 left, and 7 left, by pole, early 6 right, into a crest, and it's 8 right, with 150 to an 8 right.
When you catch a slower car, the rule is that it must give way. At lunchtime in Hobart, while spectators drool over cars that look good enough to eat, the historic competitors are off enjoying a gourmet lunch. Tony Cameron has brought his 1961 Renault Gordini from Lord Howe Island.
I used to race one of these things in 1961-62 in Baskerville and Simmons Paint, etc. And Lord Howe, sort of nothing really much to do except look after tourists, etc. And I just got an inkling to do this little thing up. I bought it in Victoria and loaded it up to Yamba and took it out on the boat, rebuilt it over the last 12 months and joined TARGA. Just been interested in trying to do it.
South of Hobart, the classic and modern competitors stop for lunch and review the morning.
That was a blast, that was. It was wonderful, a full set of dry roads. Absolutely fantastic little twisty bits that this car loves.
Oh, my first drive today. Managed not to kill him, scare him. Oh, I don't know about scared.
He scared me, he scared me.
Magozzi and Schön haven't reached the lunch stop yet, but they're on the Signet TARGA stage and they appear to be hungry. The Longley TARGA stage, and the locals are getting ready for the onslaught. This is another stage where it's long enough to get a bit busy. Incidentally, the crews may swear a bit, but there's no real animosity. They're just excited. One place where you do have to go slowly on Longley is the hairpin at the bottom of the first hill. Quigley and Holsworth are taking no chances. Back into Hobart for the last TARGA stage of the day at Ridgeway Park.
15 seconds.
Hans Magozzi puts his foot down too hard in the Cobra and his restrictor doesn't like it. Ridgeway Park follows an old hill climb course and has one corner that's slower than it looks. Despite the damage to the Ferrari, Bruce Jessup and Jeff Smedley are unharmed. The stage continues after mopping up. The last cars whistle through Longley on their way into Hobart. The main contenders for the modern competition are in close company at Ridgeway Park. Richards and Oliver, Fremantle and Watchell, the Rathbones, Dean and Bell, Rattray and Browning, Parsons and Guthrie, After they've all done Ridgeway Park, they can have a welcome night's rest, ready for an early start tomorrow. By the look of Hans Bergozzi's eyes in the mirror, they need it.
Probably up the tempo a little bit and got a little bit scared there on Cygnet there, so going sideways at about 140 is not comfortable.
I drove like an old chook this morning on the first couple of stages, but then my navigator said to me, "You've got to get your finger out," so I did, and off we went.
We actually launched off the line at Oyster Cove, and the car moved about 5 metres and a large noise from the back end, and we snapped the drive path, snapped like a carrot. Our trophy's gone, but we're here to finish and have a lot of fun.
To be competitive, we need wet stages. Yesterday we picked up a lot of places, a lot of time because of the wet. Farrell's driving ability in the wet. The problem we've got with the car is it's so damn slow. On the straights, we've got to slow down because we're revving out in top gear, so we try and make up the time on the corners.
David Parsons and Vaughan Guthrie are pushing us pretty hard.
We have had a good day. We've killed one chook. Boy here lost the plot. I've lost the plot. We never crashed it. If we've gained time, I think we've done extremely well.
Another feature of the Shannon's presence in the event is a classic auction. Is this a Targa car for next year, changing hands?
I've always got the bug for motor racing, and this really is the the ultimate in a sense that you don't know the roads, and it sorts out how good a driver you are and how brave you are. Certainly probably a lot more than what Bathurst would, because we've all been around Bathurst 1,000 times, and this here is all new. So no, it's pretty demanding.
The winner of the Concours d'Elegance wasn't one of the historic field. It was this magnificent Ferrari. The classic top 5 has changed again with the arrival of Mundy and Dunstan in 5th place. Still 4th are Brown and Price, while White and Townsend are up to 3rd. Behind the Freestones Austin Healey and the little Porsche racer. Rattray and Browning are still 5th in the modern. And Dean and Bell have leapt up to 4th. The top 3 are unchanged. Fremantle and Watchorn, Guthrie and Parsons, and Richards and Oliver. Leg 4, the Trust Bank Challenge, is one of the longest journeys you can make in Tasmania, at nearly 500 kilometres. And it includes 8 Targa stages, about 120 kilometres. More than half of that being made up by just 2 big stages. The Shannon's historic cars travel by a slightly more direct route that covers 5 Targa stages, including the longest one. After yesterday's quiet day, the Shannon's historic field are hot to trot. Maybe too hot. The first Targa stage, and the best attended one of the event, is Hobart. It goes through a reserve close to the Royal Tasmanian Botanical Gardens in the middle of the city. And it's full of surprises. In the magnificent countryside north of Hobart, the first cars in the field can stretch their legs on the Colebrook Targa stage, which winds up the Cole River Valley. Tony Cameron and Dean Tapping have trouble brewing in the Renault Gordini. Meanwhile, thousands of spectators in Hobart are getting what they came to see, a rapid procession of superb cars being driven the way they're supposed to be. Mostly. If you think this corner looks easy, here's how it comes up on you at speed. In the Midlands, the historic town of Ross waits with its own Targa stage for the parade of automotive history. The Ross Targa stage is narrow and twisty, and it's fun to throw the car around. But if you throw it around too hard, you can get into trouble, as Tracy Watts and Keith Brodie in the Elfin Streamliner are about to find out. Thanks to good safety equipment, they aren't badly hurt, and they decide soon after landing to come back next year in an MGB. The other end of the field is squirreling through Hobart with varying degrees of success. And the middle of the field is enjoying the run through the serpentine roads of Colebrook. Matthew Bryson and John McManus are trying hard to get performance from their 45 horsepower second-hand replacement engine. Calvert and Vincent in the Alpha are just trying hard, as always. And Guichos and Orism's hot Volkswagen is unfortunately about to retire. At Ross, the Daily Svensson Mustang slows down past the crash scene and then cuts loose. Craig Dean and Graham Bell in their Toyota Sora are now lying fourth overall in the modern competition. They're flying at Colebrook, and everybody's flying at Ross. There's nothing level about this level crossing. Sandow and Sartor renew their acquaintance with the Tasmanian greenery.
Go through the paddock, go through the paddock, yeah!
This year, yellow flags are used to slow competitors down at an accident scene. At the other end of the Ross stage, it's more like show jumping than rallying. Another clear round for the Kobayashis.
This is the railway crossing with the 7 left, 8 right kink on it. 7 left, 8 right kink. Here we go, and I've got turn 3 right.
The ambulance takes it more gently over the railway crossing.
The lass who was driving's fine, and the co-driver had some sore ribs. They've taken him off to Campbelltown Hospital just to make sure there's no breakages there.
Just up the road, on the very quick Targa stage at Cressy, the best presented car in the event, the Bonfield Fiat Abarth OT2000, is caught by one of the fastest. Warwick Fremantle and Nick Watchorn are lying third overall in the modern competition in their Nissan GTR. On the way to the Deloraine lunch stop and the big stages of the afternoon, a couple of contrasting pit stops. Brian Beach and Kenneth Walkerton in the Lancia Monte Carlo make a service stop worthy of the Monte Carlo Rally. While modern leaders Jim Richards and Barry Oliver are having a much more leisurely time.
So you get to know what stages you're going to lose time and what stages you can actually get under the minimum time. So the ones we know we can do, we don't press too hard. We just make sure the car's nice and straight and we don't use the tyres up too much. And we can use them up later on down the west coast.
One stage where Jim will have to press on is Sathana. It's one of the great Targa stages and the longest of the day at just under 38 kilometres. It has everything. Mountains, forests, hill climbs, steep descents, and all of it on a superb road surface. If you have the car to suit it and the skill to keep it on the road, Sathana is a fantastic driving experience. Here, the road rushes past the summit of Mount Claude. On the steep plunge down Mount Claude, Gary quickly gets some advice from co-driver Andrew Holsworth. But it's a noisy car, and maybe Gary's a little deaf. There are some places you can recover from a mistake, and some where you can't. Maybe Sathana's got something against Volvos. After going off at Ross, the Holden Monaro finds itself among much faster cars, who aren't always glad to see it. The Celebrity MG, driven today by Chris Nilsson and Owen Peake, is caught by a much older MG, though it is a more highly tuned one. And the Draper's Mini speeds away from Mount Claude towards the end of Sathana and the start of the short Wilmot Targa stage. On Wilmot, the Monaro is getting some more practice at being overtaken. Guns Plains is the tightest of the long Targa stages, and drivers and navigators get no rest for the whole 15 kilometres. Guns Plains is a good appetizer for Iana, one of the most important stages in the event.
One right, one right. Okay, 9 left.
Rihanna is a stage where a good crew in a good car can make up time. But Rihanna is also a stage where a mistake can be costly. Sir Jack Brabham lost his BMW on this tightening left in 1994 and hit this tree. There's a warning in the road book that the bend tightens, but Colin Raftos and Lloyd Hughes in their 1972 Porsche 911 have hit the same tree. Both are taken to hospital.
We'd been chasing him for about 30 corners, and he just went out too wide on one and never braked hard enough and went straight across the edge of the road and hit into a tree.
Straight to Burnie and follow the road signs.
Okay.
Rihanna is downgraded and the cars travel in convoy to Burnie. This is a night when everyone needs a rest. But not everyone is going to get one. Andrew Farmer and Lee Harper also went off on Rihanna, but with less serious consequences.
We've got to make it look like a Porsche by the morning.
It's
got a hole in the side. We've got a motor coming up, a second-hand motor that we've purchased. We don't know what it looks like, what it's going to be like, but we'll get the motor out, and hopefully by about 12:30, 1 o'clock the motor will arrive, and we'll drop it back in, and hopefully we're going to get in the morning.
The top 5 in the historic are unchanged, with the Donnans on the tail of the 5. Ahead of them are Cummins and Kilgariff, Tucker and Leb, the Bars, and Williams and Taylor. Kenny and Henry in the Jaguar have joined the leading group in the Classic, behind the white Townsend Cobra, the Freestone Austin Healey, Mundy and Dunstan's Porsche fighting up to second, and the Fitzgerald Peterson Porsche. The only change in the modern top 5 is that the Rathbones have displaced Rattray and Browning for 5th. The Sora is in 4th, the GTR 3rd, another RX-7 2nd, and that Porsche is still 1st. Leg 5, the Yellow Pages Enduro, is the sting in the tail of TARGA Tasmania, the longest of all at over 500 kilometres, the toughest of all and the one with the longest TARGA stage of all. It's a very long way for the historic cars too. They have to do 6 TARGA stages, again including the longest one. At the first TARGA stage, Hellier Gorge, the volunteer officials have been up preparing the stage since 5 o'clock in the morning, but you wouldn't know it from their manner. As usual, they work efficiently and happily away on what must seem like an endless river of cars. The road looks like an endless river too, of bends. On the way out of Burnie, the weather looks like it'll be kind today. But on the second TARGA stage, Mount Black, it isn't. Low cloud has descended over the Murchison Highway, turning some parts of the stage into a game of blind man's bluff. The Rosebery TARGA stage just up the road is clear, dry and fast. Fitzgerald and Peterson still lead the classic in their elderly Carrera. Up on Mount Black, in some places the mist is still there, so it's softly unless you have good pace notes or blind faith. Rosebery sets the pattern for the rest of the day, dry and fast. So the cars that are set up for the dry will have the advantage. The Strawn TARGA stage, another of the long ones, rushes along a splendid surface from Strawn to Queenstown, and it has no nasty surprises, unless you're a Ford man being overtaken by a Holden. Richards and Oliver on Rosebery, rocketing towards a third victory. And another Another surprise on Strawn for Quigley and Holsworth. From the air, the Queenstown Targa stage looks like an intestine, and you can imagine what it would do to your innards if you were susceptible to car sickness. There's a big drop over that edge. How would you like to take a Ferrari or a Jaguar over Mount Arrowsmith? It's been shortened from when it used to start at Bradshaw's Bridge, but it's still the longest Targa stage of the event at over 50 kilometres. And it's one of the 3 fastest of all. Queenstown is tortuously slow and steep, but it is interesting. After the climb out of the valley at Queenstown, the second half is a complete contrast, the fast descent into Linda. Up ahead on Mount Arrowsmith, the people with horsepower are letting the horses gallop. But power is no help if you have a transmission problem. Paul and Christine Freestone in the Austin Healey are slipping through the classic field from 3rd position at breakfast time. They're headed for a golden Targa trophy if they can make it. Now comes the plunge down the gorge at Tarraleah and up the other side. The hardest part is behind the competitors now. But if a car has any problems, it still has to be nursed to the finish. The historic and classic field have already reached the short round the houses Targa stage at New Norfolk. And Robert Shannon and Craig Brown are still trying as hard as they were at the prologue. The second-hand engine in the Renault Gordini has made it all the way from Burnie, and incredibly, Tony Cameron and Dean Tapping are going to win Targa trophies. Everyone waits at New Norfolk for the tail of the field to arrive. They've reached Tarraleah. And Ellendale, another of the really fast Targa stages. Ellendale is as far as some will get. Even if you reach New Norfolk, you still have to reach the finish line. The Freestones have made it to the finish at Ellendale, still doing the times for their Golden Targa trophy. It's still possible to lose it all at New Norfolk, and several crews do.
Finally made it. Pretty good. After 5 years, we finally got a Targa plate.
Although New Norfolk is short, it isn't an easy stage. Take a look.
Class, and I think we finished ahead of the other GTR. So that's very good. We're very happy.
And here's a real heartbreaker. Warwick Fremantle and Nick Watchorn in third place in the modern competition at the start of the day have another in a series of turbo problems.
Quite spectacular, a lot of loose gravel, so we had a lot of sliding around. Just fun, this last one.
Even Jim seems to be getting excited. The GTR still isn't fixed, and during the day, Warwick and Nick have dropped from 3rd to 53rd place. Once again, the positions in the historic competition are unchanged. The 1928 Fraser Nash finishes 5th, the 1936 Jaguar is 4th, the 1962 Aston Martin is 3rd, and the 1960 MGA is still only 11 seconds behind the 1963 Holden, which has lost no time at all in the event. Just into the classic top 5 at the finish is the A9X, 4th is the Big Cobra, and a surprise 3rd are the Codes in their Tirana. 2nd is still the Mundy Dunstan Porsche, and the winner is the Fitzgerald Peterson Porsche. In the modern competition, the minor placings are still in doubt as this program is completed. Guthrie and Parsons, who finished second on the road, were excluded at post-event scrutiny, leaving Howard and Linda Long fifth, Lynn Rattray and Hedley Browning fourth, Mark and Rick Rathbone third, and Craig Dean and Graham Bell second. However, Guthrie and Parsons have subsequently had their appeal upheld, and the matter is now before AMSAC, the Australian Motorsport Appeals Court, for final determination. Jim Richards and Barry Oliver were clear and undisputed winners. The Derwent descent down the river to Rest Point Hotel Casino is a really relaxing run. Most of the tension is gone, and there is just this one touring stage to go. 87% of the cars finish, the highest percentage ever. There will be TARGA trophies, golden TARGA trophies, and for a small number who haven't missed a trick in 6 years, there are platinum TARGA trophies, the first ever, and the ultimate award in the ultimate tarmac rally.
I'm the oldest butcher.
Go that way.
Actually, my brother, he drives Holden and I drive Ford.